Oh boy, here's another hang on tight for you. So I was sitting in the shop, and I've got the music playing, and um, the way I've got it rigged is I've got a tablet, which I let set in the car during the heat of the summer, and something happened internally, and now the screen doesn't work on it anymore. Um, so I, fortunately had TeamViewer on it. So I just TeamViewer into it now, and I've got a couple gigs of music there, and I put it on random, and I just let it play in the house almost 24/7. Um, I like to think of it as my AM station with a playlist, but it's pretty good. I'm happy with it. It keeps my head busy. I like listening to things, audiobooks or what music or whatever. It helps me relax, push off part of my brain. I'm not sure how to say it when I've got something going on in the background. Anyway, that's neither here nor there to today's tale. Welcome. Um, so one of the songs I was listening to was Steve Martin's 1978 hit King Tut, which somebody nearly 50 years later tried to get Steve Martin canceled for because of presentism. Never mind. I mean, let's face it. If Steve Martin's going to be canceled, which he shouldn't be, especially not for stuff he did in the 70s, 50 years ago, it should be for something like this.
I was born a poor black child.
Which is a line from one of the greatest movies. Well, one of the greatest Steve Martin movies, which is a qualifier to be sure. Here's a quote I use often, or often enough that when I say it, people look at me like I'm odd, which I'm used to.
The new phone book's here! The new phone book's here!
Which is, the new phone book's here, the new phone book's here, which is what I say whenever I get, excited about something. But while we're in this movie, the movie, by the way, was called The Jerk, I am going to take a full minute and 10 seconds of your time to play the scene everybody remembers from that movie.
And I don't need any of this! I don't need this stuff! And I don't need you! I don't need anything! Except this. This ashtray. That's the only thing I need is this. I don't need this or this. This ashtray. This paddle game. The ashtray and a paddle game, and that's all I need. And this remote control. The ashtray and a paddle game and the remote control, that's all I need. These matches. The ashtray and these matches and the remote control and the paddle ball. Let's play it. The ashtray, this paddle game and the remote control and a lamp, and that's all I need. And that's all I need too. I don't need one other thing. Not one. I need this.
Anyhow, now we'll go back to the meat of the story and the reason that I recorded this one. But I thought I'd throw a little Mr. Martin in there, who, by the way, is a heck of a banjo player. And King Tut by Steve Martin, if you haven't figured it out already, is a song about King Tut, or more honestly, it's a song about the commercialization of the King Tut museum exhibits that were going around the country in the late 70s, 78, 79. I saw them at whatever museum I saw them at in the Los Angeles area. And it was fascinating. I mean, to think that these things were 3,000 years old, and some of them were as old to me how do I want to say this? That some of them were as old to King Tut as King Tut was to me. That's the right way of saying it. So, many, many, many thousands of years old. Kind of cool. But towards the end of the song, the chorus or the background singers come up with he was born in Arizona, moved to Babylonia, which is clever lyric and all that. Here it is here. Got a condo made of stoner. And I began to think, we all know I like my conspiracy theories, and one of the ones that I really like is there's a mountain hill peak in the Grand Canyon, which is in Arizona, called the Temple of Isis. Isis was an Egyptian goddess. And they've got a bunch of other sites around there with Egyptian names, and that's always struck me as curious why. And so if you look into it a little bit further, you and step into your way, way, way back machine to the early 1900s, 1909, if you want to be specific about it. They were about to, the government, were about to make part of the Grand Canyon, close off parts, and parts of it still are. You can't go there in a boat. You can't go there by foot. You can't go there on a mule. You can't go there with a stool. Oh, sorry. Or by air. It's just completely restricted. Now, why would the government restrict parts of the Grand Canyon? Well, maybe they're doing some testing they don't want us to know. Maybe that's, the real secret Area 51 or whatever you want to call it. Or maybe, because the Grand Canyon would be a heck of a place to put stuff you don't want people to know about, especially, restricting it. There are parts of it that are dangerous. But anyway, sorry. 1909, a gentleman named G.E. Kincaid, since he knew that he could no longer, or that the Grand Canyon was about to be shut down, he decided he wanted to take a boat from the Snake River, I think it's in Utah, which is the north end of the canyon, all the way down to wherever it ends, Yuma or whatever it is, where the Grand Canyon ends in Arizona. And so he did. And it wasn't, like a 20-minute trip. It took him a couple days, I'm sure. And he would stop at night, and rest because, boating down a canyon full of water while you're sleeping, probably not the best idea you could come up with in a day. One of the places he stopped was later named Kincaid's Cave. So let me tell you about Kincaid's Cave. Kincaid's Cave is, oddly enough, right at the base of the Temple of Isis. It's approximately 400 feet up from the water line. It is reportedly man-made, and he stopped his boat and went to go see about this cave. Cavern. Cave, because it was man-made, right? Cavern, I don't know. This is what he found, or this is what it's reported that he found. And this was reported in a newspaper, and he found a bunch of Egyptian relics. Okay, he found some statues that were, one of them was an Egyptian dude, named after the Egyptian king Khayan, who's holding lotus flowers in both hands. Lotus flowers are native to Egypt, not to Arizona. He found some golden tablets with hieroglyphics on them. He found canoptic jars. If you don't know what they are, that's what when they mummify you, what they do is they take out like your liver and they put it in a jar. That's a canoptic jar. I know they take out your brain with little tiny spoons that they insert through your nose. I learned that when I was like 10, 8. Freaked me out completely. How much time would that take? But, you wouldn't want the soft organs to rot, I guess. And I guess you don't need your brain in the Egyptian afterworld. I don't know. I would think you would, but whatever. So after Mr. Kincaid, they sent an actual archaeologist. They, being the Smithsonian Institute now, sent an actual archaeologist, John Wesley Powell, to back up what he found. He being Kincaid. So they sent John Wesley Powell to back up what Kincaid found. And Powell found other caves. One of them included a shrine. And I'm going to butcher this name. King Septuprene. Seteprene, you say it. Who was Akhenaten's son. They discovered crypts or sarcophagi. And then they reported all this to the Smithsonian, who, according to the Smithsonian, never employed either one of these guys nor had these relics. That's a completely different theory that the Smithsonian likes to maintain normal history and will destroy anything from the bones of giants to apparently ancient Egyptian artifacts found in Arizona. The theory is they loaded up a boat and dumped them all in the Atlantic. Everything. So it was kind of interesting. And then, as where I live now in the Southwest, I'm paying attention to some of the peoples, some of the original peoples around here. And one of the things I've been looking up is the Hopi origin story, right? Because biblically we've got Adam and Eve, right? And God created everything and blah and that, right? So the Hopi origin story is essentially their main deity, Tawa, created everything, and the first peoples he created were essentially insect people. If you listen to some of the old Hopi stories, you'll hear them called the ant people, and the ant people live underground. And then the ant people were unhappy, so Tawa created someone they call Spider Grandmother, who talked to the ant people and said, "Look, I got something better for you," and a lot of them listened, and Spider Grandmother took these people off, and Tawa turned them into bears and wolves and stuff like that, and they were still unhappy. So Tawa sent Spider Grandmother back to talk to the bears and wolves, and the ones who would still listen to her, Tawa changed into humans. So there are some striking parallels there, and most of the creation stories have striking parallels. The Hopi also have a flood myth, or a flood story, I should say, which is interesting. But it cracked me up, the way my mind is known to go, left to right or right to left, or up and down, or zigzag, when it should, in a perfect world, my mind would, see things straight through, but I don't. I tend to zigzag all over the place, and frankly, I'm okay with that. Um, I'd rather know too many things than not enough, and I don't know enough things. I've got to drop in here at the beginning. I've got to go back to the beginning of this, so I'll do that. Gosh, don't make me re-record this. Anyway, I think that's all I've got. Just wanted to let you know that the Egyptians were here prehistorically in Arizona, that they left shrines, that the Smithsonian Institute destroyed all the records and the things they found, allegedly. And that whole area of the Grand Canyon is, well, let's put it this way. One of the things I read here on the internet, and yes, I understand, you can get the internet to tell you anything if you search correctly. I'm fully aware of that. One of the things I found here on the internet said that they actually have armed FBI agents at the entrance to the cave, Kincaid's Cave, and to keep people out, which strikes me as little bit overkill if there's nothing there. I'm just saying. Uh, I mean, I would think in my America, you could sign a waiver saying, "Yeah, I'm probably going to die hiking this part of the cave. Here's my signature saying that I acknowledge I'm probably going to die hiking this part of the cave." Kind of like the people who got squished in the Titanic sub that just happened last week or whatever. They had to sign a piece of paper that said, "I'm probably going to die doing this." Well, they did. Um, sorry for that. Sorry for their families. I'm not talking smack on them. They knew the job was dangerous when they took it, and they took it. They got crushed with 6,000 pounds per square inch of pressure, so it probably didn't take that long. Anyway, what I was saying was, yeah, my personal belief is that you should be able to, sign a piece of paper that's saying, "Yeah, this is stupid and dangerous, and I want to do it anyway," and then nobody can hold you accountable for it. Why the heck would you have armed FBI guards uh, sitting there at the? How do they do that? Do they do? I mean, are they just stationed there forever and they've got a little like tent, or do they work 8-hour shifts? Or anyway, the logistics of that is something I'll play around with in my head. And I hope y'all stay blessed.